Thank you, Rajan.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now let's reshare the screen. Let me know once you can see the screen, please. So we were here, okay, managing your presentation. All right. Now we will see about handling questions. Okay. Now, when it comes to handling questions, remember this part again. Human beings in general, they don't like to be questioned. Nobody likes questions. Okay. Very rarely people will be receptive to questions. So in the presentations, your audience, if they are asking you a question, the first thing which will happen in your mind is you might not like it. You might think, oh, I prepared so well. Everything is there. I have answered everything, yet they are asking me questions. This will be the subconscious thought which will happen in your mind. So that's the reason, the first point. Remain unemotional, cool, and reserved. The reason why I have given you remain unemotional is, remember earlier I told you what will happen in your mind? That is a normal thought for most of the human beings. For me, it might be a little different because I keep asking questions to you all. So it is completely different for me. But then for you, as a participant, as a learner, since it's a training session, again, you might be receptive. But when it comes to a context like your presentations where the client is there, where the line managers are there, and you have presented it so well, everything is there, still they are asking questions, you might get unemotional. Yeah. And answer the questions to the best of your ability, but do not bluff, which means do not lie. If you're not sure of an answer, not everybody knows everything in this world. Have this thought at the back of your mind. Me, Prime Minister, whoever it is, nobody knows everything in this world. If you're not sure, if you're also doubtful, tell them, be honest. Can I have some more time so that I can come back to you with an answer on this? You don't have to say, I don't know. Handle it very smartly. Okay. Tell them, can I have some more time to come back to you with an answer on this? I have done this in my training sessions during the beginning of my career, especially the voice and accent part, since English is not my first language. Some of the sounds I will not know. Okay. I can't remember everything. So when participants ask questions on certain sounds, when I'm not very sure, I will tell them, can you give me some time? I will come back to you on the exact sound of that. And one of the trainees in his feedback form after that 10 days of that new hire training, he has mentioned that point. Jasmine, you were honest enough to acknowledge that you need more time. You did not bluff about the sound. So people can appreciate you for this quality. Normal tendency is you'll feel embarrassed. Oh my God, I was supposed to be answering everything. I do not know. Never go into that mode. Not everyone knows everything. It's okay. Come back to them with the right answer. Yeah. What can be negative questions, people? Can you see that the third point, convert negative questions in your favor? Have you come across any negative questions in your presentations? When I say that, when you are presenting, somebody has asked you something and it was negative. Has that happened with you? If no, also you can tell me. That's the reason the next point is, do not be rude at any cost to any member of the group, because there is a possibility audience can ask some questions which are very, very vague, because audience can ask anything. Yeah. We are supposed to be professionals. We are supposed to be the host. Okay. Negative
So
questions
Jasmine,
can
I think
be,
we didn't receive
yeah,
any
go ahead.
negative question.
Go ahead. Go
Yes.
ahead.
we didn't
Ah,
receive any negative
go
questions,
ahead, Nelson.
but
You did
sometimes
not
we get a
receive. Okay.
diplomatic. So am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are.
Yeah, yeah. We doesn't get any negative questions, but sometimes we get diplomatic questions to the training. So that's what.
Okay. All right. Let me give you an example of a negative question. I wish it doesn't happen, but if it happens, let's be prepared. Let's assume you are giving a data. It is about performance. Okay, let's just assume. The previous month, the performance was here. Okay, or CSAT. Okay, or whatever you call the customer satisfaction score as. And you have promised, or it was agreed, that the next month it will show an upward trend. And the next month, unfortunately, it is in the same place. There is no upward trend. Now the client might say, oh, you guys told me that it will go in the upward trend and now nothing is happening. What is this? Now, this is on a very different tone. I will not call it as negative, but it is on a very complaining tone. All right. So here is where you need to again remain unemotional, ask an apology, say, like, we work towards it. Unfortunately, it did not happen. But this month, we will again work on it and try to attain it to this agreed upward trend. Again, next month, what happens, we do not know. But you can manage it that way. All right. Okay. And be relevant and speak to the audience needs. This is a point which you should always keep in your mind throughout the presentation. Everything you say is not for yourself. Everything you say should matter to your audience. I can see only two people on the video. Earlier, there were more people. Um, Not sure why you went off the video. I feel as if the class has only 2 or 3 people because I can see only them, not the others. Palani was there on the video. Palani has immediately come back. Krishna Prakash was there.
Sorry, Jasmine.
He-
Sorry.
no problem. Okay. So that's all. See, I have to just remain quiet for some time, not notice it. They'll all go off with you. This like these children. You need to bring them back. All right. Thanks. Lokesh, Srihari, all these people were on video earlier, but I don't see them now. Pragadish and this Vigneshwar has not joined. Any idea what happened to them? Those 2 people were new people. All right, let's not waste time. So far, are you with me? Handling questions? Okay, what kind of questions? Category of questions I will tell you on the next slide. First kind, open-ended questions. Okay, can anyone tell me what is an open-ended question? Have you come across this? Open-ended question means
Yes or no type questions.
those are closed questions, the second
Oh,
type.
okay.
So open-ended or opposite to it. Let's assume I'm asking Gopi Krishnan a question. What is your name? He can say anything as the answer. Obviously, he'll say his name. So open-ended questions will allow room for any kind of answer to come. If I ask Gopi Krishnan a question, is your name Gopi? His answer can be yes or no, depending on what is his real name. So the first type is open-ended. The second one is closed. All right. So sometimes when your audience asks certain questions, they will ask it as what does it mean? What is the answer for this? What is this? All that. So there you have to give an elaborate answer. Sometimes they'll only ask it as a clarifying question. This I saw in the data. Is my understanding correct? They might say something and ask, is my understanding correct? If their understanding is correct, you will say yes. If the understanding is not correct, then you will explain it. And the third category is, what do you think you are? Kind of questions, which has a little bit of tone to it. Okay. Here you require the tough skills of a coach, which means somebody did not completely understand your intention of presenting at all. And you need to be very, very matured and tell them why you have put certain points, your logic, because you are the one who created the presentation. Let me say that point again. You are the creator of the presentation. The other person doesn't feel that it was necessary or appropriate to put it there, and you have a strong intention why you have put it there, then you need to explain it as if a coach will explain it to her players. In a match, Have you seen the coach randomly talk to the players? Now and then in the sports, they will show it, right? How will the coach talk? The coach will have the authority, right? But at the same time, he will not pick up a tone. Players won't listen to him then. He will have the authority with him, but at the same time, he'll say it in such a way that it will sound very friendly and convincing. That's the kind of a coach you have to be when people are asking you questions about the logic of the presentation itself. So far with me, any questions? Right? I can see many of you on video. Thank you. How to close your presentation. Seshadharan, can I request you to read this slide for us, please?
Yes, just closing your presentation. Summarize, prove that objectives are met, close it right.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see one by one. Now, summarizing. Yeah. Remember back in your school days, in your English class, the teacher would have asked you to write in the composition note a summary of a big story. There would be a big story in the composition note, that long size note. I don't know if it was like that in your time. There, they will ask you to write a small summary of the big story. That is called summarizing, giving only the important information. Or in the current trend, let's take the news. 30 minutes, sometimes the news will be telecasted, but in the news headlines, the 30 minutes news, only the headlines, the important points will be given in 5 minutes. So that's the summary. It'll help the audience to keep focused. It'll help them to remember the important points. And even if they have missed out 1 or 2 points in the beginning, when you're summarizing in the closing of the presentation, it will reduce that confusion. So summarizing in any presentation is important. So you have to devise your presentation in such a way that till 30 minutes, you shouldn't be talking about the content of the presentation. Last 5 minutes, you can keep it for summary, answering questions. Like that, you have to design your presentation. Only then it will not overshoot the time. Right? Now, how to prove that your objectives are met? One way is to receive feedback from the audience. All right. Krishna Prakash, can I request you to read this slide for us?
Verbal surveying, check comfortability of audience and target the polling. Choose few people from the crowd and ask question. Forms to collect the feedback if required.
Oh, thank you. Now, see, your presentations will be completely business. So you can't really send a form and collect feedback like I do, because mine is training. It's different. You can do a verbal surveying or target polling. All right. You can just go ahead and ask generally. Okay. Was the presentation relevant to your points and questions and needs? Do you have anything else to add here? So in a way, you are trying to ask their feedback. Does this make sense? How you can ask feedback from your set of the crowd indirectly rather than telling them how was my presentation. That you can ask offline with your well-wishers. Okay. So remember this point when you're thinking about closing the presentation. It is not sufficient to know what to say. You are subject matter experts. You will know what to say. One must know also how to say it. Okay. That is the most important part. And this is said by the great Greek philosopher who's Aristotle. So whenever you are making your presentations, remember that you have to have a beginning. It's like a story. It should have a beginning. It should have a body, which is the content, and it should have a closing. In closing, you can have the summary. All right. You can also have the questions in the closing itself. Yeah, you need not have it in the body because I added it in the body, gave it some time, but you can also put it in the closing. Now, I'm going to talk about something very important. That's why I kept it towards the end, which I have not spoken so far. Yeah, that is about body language while you're presenting. All right. I have seen certain presentations where the person will be an excellent speaker, okay? But his hands will be often in the pockets, or his hands will be tied at the back, or he or she might be just leaning on a table, or they might be like this. Yeah, like one lifeless soul, they'll be like this. They will not be sitting straight or confident. Yeah. So this body language is important for your first 30 seconds. Remember, I told you the first 30 seconds, people will form an opinion even before you open your mouth. For that, this body language, stance, your gesture, your facial expression, your smile, your eye contact is important. And that's what we are going to see in the form of a video. It's a 5 minutes video. I request all of you to take a notepad and pen and make note of the points. I will ask question to everybody. I will not randomly ask. One point from everybody I'll ask. So make a note of it, please. I'll try to share the video now. Okay. One minute, people. I get confused how to share videos. Okay, I have opened the video. I'll share it with you now. Are you able to see the YouTube video screen?
Yes.
Yes, just.
And present, we want to come across as
Are you able to hear the sound? You can? Oh, all. I'll play the video. I will go off video for some time.
confident and composed. And one of the great ways to do that is by working on our body language. Let's look at 3 ways to improve your nonverbal body language in presentations. Coming up. Hello again, friends. If you've never seen one of my videos, I'm Alex Line, and this channel, Communication Coach, is here to help you increase your impact so you can lead your teams to higher levels of excellence. And I believe that presentation skills are really an important part of leadership. You're going to be standing and presenting quite frequently if you're in any kind of leadership position. So we want to get just a little bit better at this. Let's look at 3 ways you can improve your nonverbal body language so that people can hear your message in a much more confident and composed way. And these tips, by the way, go together. So each of the 3 tips have a couple of pieces, as you'll see. So the first tip is eye contact and smile. So eye contact, you have to look directly into somebody's eyes that's listening about 99% of the time. You don't want to look too much at your notes. You don't want to look back at your slides, really. You certainly don't want to look at the floor or over their heads. There's a lot of bad habits out there in terms of eye contact. You want to look directly in someone's eyes almost the whole time, and that really takes quite a bit of practice. The other thing you want to do is look directly into somebody's eyes long enough to finish a thought and then move on to the next person. So you don't want to just stare at one person the whole time, and you don't want to scan so that you're never locking in. A communication coach actually once told me, 1 thought, 1 look. So long enough to finish about a sentence, feel that connection, and then you move on to the next person. So what do you do with your face while you're making eye contact? You've got to smile. A lot of times people get overly robotic when they present. They might be making good eye contact, but their face is stern and it doesn't look like anything's happening emotionally. You want to smile and warm your face up a little bit so that when you're making eye contact with somebody, they feel a connection with you that's welcoming and supportive. You don't want to come across as a deer in the headlights. Tip number 2, posture and gestures, and these things go together. So in terms of what not to do for posture, you don't want to shuffle your feet back and forth. You don't want to sway your hips. You don't want to cross and uncross your legs repetitively. You don't want to pace around like a wild person. By the way, if you want to walk in a presentation, it's okay to walk a little bit, but make sure when you walk, you stop and you say a little bit before you walk again. So walk with a purpose, stop, share your message, and then maybe a minute or so later, walk again. Don't pace. So once you have these don'ts out of the way, what should you do? You want to stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. This is how you would stand if you weren't self-conscious about how you're standing. We get self-conscious when we present, but really all you have to do is stand like a normal person. Then you want to put just a tiny bit of weight on the front of your foot and a little tiny bit lighter on your heels, and your whole foot is still touching, but you have a little bit more of a ready, responsive position. You also want to soften your knees a little bit. You don't want to have locked knees. Bad things happen when you lock your knees. I'm not sure of the physiology of it, but when people lock their knees, they oftentimes pass out when they're nervous, and you don't want to do that in the middle of your presentation. So soften those knees. Now you've got your posture, let's add some gestures to it. You don't want to put your hands in your pockets. You don't want to put your hands behind your back. You don't want to grab onto different parts of your body for security. All that looks very distracting. So here's what you should do. You should loosely clasp your hands at about belt level, and then you should just gesture naturally from there. You don't want to interlock your fingers, and you don't want to wring your hands because then you'll get too locked in and it's hard to let go. But if you practice at home just loosely clasping your hands like this, then just start to gesture naturally from here. And that's the way to do it. Small little gestures just like this. You can do this all day long, and it's just going to add a nice emphasis to your words, and it's not going to be distracting whatsoever. Tip number 3, you want to pause, and when you pause after a key idea, add a little tiny bit of a nod. I've seen some really convincing and persuasive speakers do this, and what you'll notice if you pause after a key idea and nod, that pause is really persuasive, but the nodding is contagious. You'll see that people listening to you actually start to nod a little bit with you, and that's one of the ways that you know you have them. It's a very subtle but powerful nonverbal body language tip. So those are my 3 tips for improving your nonverbal body language when you're presenting, but I'd like to hear your tips. Question of the day: how do you recommend that we improve our body language while we're presenting? Please put the comments below in that section. I look forward to reading.
All right, I'll pause the video. Okay, so I'm going to ask question one by one, all right? Just like I said. Let's start with Lokesh. Lokesh, can you give me what was the first point? You don't have to
Eye
explain,
contact,
just a
Jasmine.
brief. Eye contact,
Yes,
wonderful.
yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the second question is to Gopi Krishnan. While you're doing this eye contact, what else are you supposed to do?
It's a direct.
Direct, and you need to also smile. Okay.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes, see, not to be stereotyped, but South Indian men usually don't smile a lot. Okay. I've seen a lot of people. Very rarely we have a few people like Madan who keeps smiling now and then. But then usually, see, he's laughing now. Usually I've seen men not so smile a lot. So if you are a person like that, if it's very hard to change your nature, it's fine. Okay. But don't look very stern, like the Liam Nielsen who was shown in the picture. Just have a very friendly look face. Okay, even if you don't smile, show your teeth, it's still fine. You can manage it that way. You don't have to change your originality. Now, this eye contact and smile, this was not mentioned in the video. I'm asking you all, if it is a virtual meeting setup, then what will you do for this eye contact and smile?
We'll try to focus on the camera.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, because there it might be a little challenging, but you can smile, you can keep a friendly face because that shows in your tone. That at least we can work on. Yeah. What was the second point? Let me ask a particular question. Seshadran, what was the second point in the video? Seshadran.
Posture and gesture.
Yes. Okay. So gesture should be how should be the gesture? Srihari. How should be the gesture? Hand movement.
Don't put hand in pocket.
Mm. Okay, that is a don't. So where should be the hand? He said particularly a point, especially for guys, he said. Let me ask another person. Karthikeyan?
No, Jasmine.
Wait,
Didn't get that.
okay. All right. Anyone else? Where should be the position of the hands? Gestures.
Loosely clasped.
The packet, I mean, it should not be in the packets. That's what he explained in the video.
It should be above belt level.
Hmm. Who said that? Who said that point above the belt level?
Rajan.
Raja.
Okay, let's give him a big round of applause. That's a very important point. Okay, because everything don'ts we know, but where should it be? That's the most important point. Yeah, thanks for giving a round of applause to him. Above the belt. Yeah, and it should not be. The others said the other points also. It should not be tightly clasped and all. Have it open like this, because this shows that you're being transparent. Yeah, and certain news readers, if you see in bbs and all that, they'll keep it like this. Okay, like this is a mudra actually. This shows confidence, this shows power. But all this requires practice. Okay, you can do it at a later time. And then he was also talking about the third point, which is pause and nod. You can pause, but nodding, I will request you to do it after you become an expert. Okay, because sometimes what happens when it doesn't coincide and you're doing a lot of new things in your presentation, when you pause, it will look very odd. The other person will wonder why you're shaking your head. So it has to become natural. It has to become very subtle. That's why I'm saying do it a little later. Practice, work on all the points, practice the nod towards the later part. When you are fine, when you're thinking, oh, I'm like better now. Now I can pause and I can also nod and experiment. At that time, you do it. All right. Okay. Now let me reshare the screen. We are almost towards the end. We are going to see only the scenarios. I think you can still see the YouTube video only, right? Or the presentation. What do you see on the screen?
Presentation.
You can see the presentation. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So the first scenario is this. Google Docs and Google Office Suite presentation are only allowed. I think all of you are aware of this point, correct? Are you aware of this point?
Yeah, Jasmine.
Okay. So with this available space, when I say available space, what Vijay means is, since PPTs are very easy to grab attention, since you have Google Docs or Google Office Suites, with that available space, how you grab audience attention should be the important point. I've already told you how to grab audience attention. Okay. In the throughout the presentation, scattered here and there, I have told you how to grab audience attention. Can anyone tell me one point how to grab audience attention? I used a different choice of words instead of the word grab. How to keep the audience attention.
Small talk.
Okay. Keeping them engaged. And the tone. Remember the 30 seconds, 3 minutes, that part also. All right. And I'm going to minimize the screen. Most common errors are these, which Vijay has listed down here: zigzag fonts or spacing or irrelevant colors, making I think presentations are called like this in your project without understanding the meaning behind the usage of red and green. So when it is red, it is a color of alarm. All right. And when it is green, what is it used for? You guys know better. So let's assume you're showing upward trend or downward trend. There should be a color combination which is specific for your project. Use that alone. Okay. Don't randomly use red somewhere, randomly use green somewhere. There should be a meaning attached to it. All right. And sometimes summary and graphs might not be in sync with the explanation. So that's also which is highlighted. And wrong slides will be chosen to present the topic. Yeah. So have the logic like this. Don't think about what are the don'ts. The logic is this: what is on the screen and what you're speaking should go hand in hand. Which is mentioned in scenario 2 can come when you are preparing at the last minute. The presentation is prepared in a hurry burry. And second is you do not have time to revisit your presentation. Third, it can happen because you don't practice. Because if you practice slide by slide, you will obviously find out, oh, okay, this is irrelevant because I'm speaking and listening to myself. This is not taking concurrence with the current slide I have. I'm going to pause by, we have just one scenario. Does anyone want to share any other points or questions here? Okay. The third scenario is ABCs of module introduction, narration with examples, and test or questioning to recall a teach back session. Okay, my understanding of teach back session is different, people. So I'm going to ask you, what is teach back session according to you? Teach back session means? Guys, am I audible to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Teach
No,
back
just
session
manage.
means?
Yeah, you can continue.
Teach
Yeah,
back
teach
session
back.
means? Go ahead,
Oh,
Madhu.
sorry. Teach back is, I think, in my perspective, it's shadowing what someone have trained us. We are shadowing them again.
So you are shadowing, and after that, sometimes they will ask you to present on what you have learned. That will be a teach back session. All right. So there you are the person who will put that entire presentation of what you have understood from getting mentored from the other person or shadowing the other person. So there you are the owner of the presentation. When I say ABC, what the situation means is you should know what is coming first, what is coming second, what is coming three, the sequence of it. That's the meaning of ABC. It's just a slang. Okay. All right. So the scenarios are that's all. Okay. I'm going to ask you all to quickly see the summary. This is what we discussed so far. We said like Vadivel dialogue, remember, because it's easy for your brain to recollect points. You need to plan depending on the kind of presentation you're going to do, have the main idea and then develop around that main idea. Analyze the audience. You already know that your audience will be equally knowledgeable like you or more knowledgeable. So prepare accordingly. And Google Suite presentation is what you will use. So get familiarized with that because I do not know how that works. And then for making an effective presentation, remember the 3 points: beginning, body, and then closing. Okay. Beginning, first 3 seconds, not 3 seconds, 30 seconds, and then 3 minutes. And then in the body, what is the message you are trying to deliver? In closing, remember to keep time for questions and summary. All right. And then in the video, we saw some 3 important points for body language that will determine the first 30 seconds. It will win your audience in the first 3 minutes. So body language is important. And then we saw some 3 scenarios, very brief scenarios. All right. So I'm going to pause by. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yeah, Jasmine, I think we have a last 1 minute. So my
Yes.
question is, we are going to the person A is going to present deliver a presentation with a wider audience, even though it's live audience. So he practiced more than 4 to 5 days. When you come to corporate, if there is any live events going on, they have some certain time period to practice the session. So the person get practiced. So on the exact day before, for example, if 10 a.m. is the presentation time, what should be done for the last 3 hours? So again, they have to practice the presentation so that the energy level get reduced. So what's your opinion on this? How to tackle this last 3 hours?
Okay. So they have practiced enough, but the last
Yeah,
3 hours, what should they do? Right?
yeah.
Okay. So the last 3 hours, just keep practicing on your breathing. Okay. Just breathe in and breathe out. Just relax your body. All right. And then think about the key points in a small slip of paper. Whatever are the key points, just write it down very boldly. Those will be your cues. And that is enough because you have already practiced a lot of times. So till the end minute, you don't